In this video, we're going to take a look at the process of installing a free program called GWX Control Panel that gives you back a little more control over your Windows computer and helps you avoid having Windows 10 forced on you if you're running Windows 7 or 8 and you don't want to upgrade, which is a very understandable thing. If you're not interested, you have an older computer that may not work very well with Windows 10. A lot of people have made the mistake of upgrading or had it forced on them and found their computer stopped working because it wasn't really compatible. And in fact, it's gotten to the point where Microsoft has actually been overtly tricking people into upgrading. So in some cases, you will see a red X in the corner of a window that looks something like this, where it tries to get you to upgrade to Windows 10. And the X button, which is supposed to close the window, doesn't actually do it. And this is resorting to outright trickery to trying to get you to actually install Windows 10. So Windows 10 also has a number of surveillance features, which is another reason that a lot of people don't want to upgrade to it, whether or not they're being forced or otherwise. And what Microsoft has also been doing has been sneaking some of these surveillance features into Windows 7 and Windows 8, so even if you avoid Windows 10, you're still getting spied on. And this GWX Control Panel software that I'm about to show to you will help you avoid all of that issue. This gives you control over your computer again and allows you to avoid having Microsoft trick you or force these features onto you, and then you can choose it when you wish to do it. So I'm going to close this window. This will close the window, and it may still try to, in normal circumstances, try to install it anyway, and has been doing this on some people's computers, many people's computers. But what we're about to install will prevent it from actually being able to succeed. And it will clear up the extra space that the drive that may be being taken up on the computer's drive at the same time. So the free program we're going to use to protect ourselves against Windows 10 is called GWX Control Panel, and you can get it at ultimateoutsider.com/downloads, and I'll provide a link to that page below the video. On that page, you just want to click right near the top. It says GWX Control Panel. Clicking that should start the download for you. You might have to click save, and then it will save. And we're just going to close the browser. And of course, immediately before I even have a chance to say the next step, Windows has prompted me once again to install Windows 10. So we won't be seeing much more of this once we have installed this program. Any more of it, in fact. So the next step, once we get rid of that, is we're going to go to our downloads folder, open that up, and look for GWX Control Panel Setup, and double click that to start the installation. Click the Run button if you're prompted for that, and you can close that window for downloads if you wish. And then you'll see the standard installer steps. Click Next, click Install, and then you click Finish, and as long as this box is checked, it will then immediately launch the control panel. And I'm going to leave it checked so that we can see the next steps. Finish. And there's a license agreement. Click Accept, check the box, and click Continue. And this brings us into the program itself. So let's take a look at these options. We're just going to run through them really quickly. And once we're done, which will take about a minute or two, and once we're done, you'll be free of Windows 10. Okay, so the first thing is click to disable Get Windows 10 app, which will remove this little icon down here that's been pestering us. And so click that, and the icon is immediately gone. Then we're going to click to prevent Windows 10 upgrades. And then if this third button here is, in this case, it's grayed out, and that means on this particular computer there is no folder with a lot of the files taking up space. Apparently on this particular machine that I'm using for recording this video, it has not actually downloaded all of the files yet. And so if it had, this would allow us to get rid of it just by clicking it, and it would free up some space on your drive. And as long as we follow the rest of the steps, then we won't ever have to do this because it will be prevented from ever being downloaded in the first place. So we can go on after you do that if you have to. Go to the fourth item, click to delete Windows 10 programs. It's going to pop up this little prompt. And this is basically just telling you that it is going to be deleting certain programs off the computer. It won't be anything aside from what the specific programs that are related to trying to analyze your computer to see if it's ready for Windows 10, which frequently it seems to not make a very good judgment about, which leads to people having problems after they upgrade because their computer isn't fully compatible. And it just removes all those components that are related to it. It's not reversible, as it says here, directly at least, but later if you decide you want to go to Windows 10, you can still go back into GWX control panel and basically just click all the buttons we're clicking here in sequence, and it will sort of turn off all the options, and then Windows will be able to download all the upgraded files if you needed to do that and you decided to later. But this gives you the control over it. So just click yes. And now I'll get rid of that. And then click to change Windows Update settings. This will open up a window. And what you want to do here, this is another thing that a lot of people, one of the reasons I recorded this video is because I was hearing a lot of people were making a bad choice, and to avoid Windows 10, they were turning off all of their Windows updates, and that's not a good idea. This will allow you to turn off the Windows updates that are sneaky ones where they're trying to sneak Windows 10 onto your machine, or features of Windows 10, like the surveillance features, but it will not prevent you from getting the security updates that are very important, and that's not a good idea to disable the security updates. So basically, there is, let's see, if you have this box checked, it's recommended to uncheck it, because in some cases that's going to allow Windows to sneak some of the Windows 10 features in. So uncheck that box, and then you can leave it on. Really, don't do the first option, because that's what I was just saying is the mistake that people are making. You have the option of the second or third option, is either one of these is fine. This is probably the easiest one, the third one, where it will download the program, the files needed to do an update, and then it will ask you when you would like to do it, and most of the time it will actually only install it if you give it permission. Whereas the second option will not even download the files needed for the update until you give it permission. So I would generally recommend for most people to go with the third one, but you can go with the second one. Particularly, you might want to go with the second option if you have one of those limited internet connections where you are paying extra and you want to kind of have a little control over when files are being downloaded. But third is, for most people, is going to be the best option. Click OK. Now the sixth option here, I would actually encourage you to skip over it. Don't click that one. It's not really necessary in most cases. And it does take a little more of an extreme strategy towards cleaning out your Windows Update cache, and most people don't need to do it, so leave it alone in most cases. And then click to disable non-critical Windows 10 settings. Click that. And then the last thing you want to do is click to enable monitor mode. And what that will do is it'll pop up this little notification, and you click OK, and then down on your system tray here, you will see a new icon appear. It says 10, but that doesn't mean it's forcing Windows 10 on you. It just means that this program is running in the background, and it is keeping an eye on the computer to make sure that Microsoft doesn't sneak anything else onto the computer related to Windows 10. And at this point, we're done. If you ever down the road you wish to actually go to Windows 10, then you will just essentially go through most of these steps and sort of reverse them. So you would click allow, the first option, click to allow Windows 10 upgrades, the second option, and click to change Windows Update settings, and then you would essentially check that box again, or also check this box for installing updates automatically. But again, that's only if you decide that you actually want to go to Windows 10. But this is, and then you would also click to disable the monitor mode, and that would stop the program from running in the background all the time. But essentially, if you don't want to go to Windows 10, then you're protected at this point, and then you can just take those couple extra steps if you do decide down the road 6 months from now or whenever that you're actually ready to go. So I hope that helps, and let me know if there's any other questions about this, and what other videos you'd like me to cover. This is Worth Godwin, worthgodwin.com, plain English simplicity for a complex modern world. Thanks for watching.